Welcome back. Well, we are in uncharted territory once again. We begin the session with new highs. Markets have been on a tear all year. All three major indices seeing double-digit gains so far this year. Valuations also hitting new highs. Big tech companies striking multi-billion-dollar deals as investors are betting heavy on the future of AI. Joining me now is FG Nexus co-founder and an executive advisor, Joe Moglia. Joe, great to see you.
Maria, it's always great to be here.
Thanks so much for being here. So much AI fueling this market rally. What's your take on valuations right now in AI-related companies?
Well, you know, they're clearly on the high side, but the reality is I think we're in uncharted territory here. We don't know exactly where we're going to go. A lot of people now are using the term bubble. I keep hearing bubble every day, and I don't think it is a bubble. And a lot of people compare it to 1999. I don't think it's accurate to do that. And the reality is, if you look at the 90s, the internet thing began around 1994, and anybody that put .com after the name came in was able to raise money. But most of those companies, they had incredible value, like 100 times revenues with no earnings whatsoever and crappy balance sheets. You look at the situation today. First of all, AI is still maybe 1995, 1996. It's far more productive, going to be far more impactful than what the internet was. And you think about the technology companies we have in our country today. They are the greatest companies on the planet with incredible revenue streams, incredible resources, incredible balance sheets. So we'll see what happens with AI over time. And I think there's a major difference between a bubble. I thought 2000 was a bubble. I thought 2008 was a bubble. But a bubble and a correction. Now, it's fair to see a correction, but I think if we see a correction, that should be a buying opportunity. So I don't have near the concern that it seems a lot of people in the market have.
I think it's a great point that you make, because we both watched in the 1990s when you had companies with no earnings and they were soaring in value. Today, you're talking about fundamental, strong companies that are backed by earnings. There's a reason that NVIDIA is a $4 trillion valuation.
And you look at NVIDIA, I think forward earnings on NVIDIA is something like 29. I think Costco and Walmart have higher multiples than that do. But these are great companies we have today, and the impact of AI is going to be extraordinary. The impact of the internet was extraordinary, but not the level we have AI today. And the companies that we had in the 1990s that were .com oriented were crappy companies for the most part.
And the money has been following. I mean, corporate America is needing to bone up on this and spend money on investing in AI, right? That money is there.
Well, I think it was Zuckerberg the other day that it said something along the lines, I would rather be overinvested and make a mistake than be underinvested, because that's going to be a bigger problem for us down the road.
Great point.
And I can really appreciate that.
What's the latest with FG Nexus? I mean, you just announced, the last time we spoke, we touched on it for a moment, the acceptance of an historic 1 trillion share authorization by the state of Nevada. A trillion shares, Joe?
Well, our CEO is the Kyle Sermonera, and Kyle would say that gave us the greatest flexibility to do whatever we needed to do. But I do think a trillion shares was probably a little bit on the hyperbolic side as far as that goes. I think there's a little bit of hyperbole on that one.
Well, just the number, it makes your eyebrows go.
Your eyebrows should pop up.
Yeah.
You're right.
So,
we cut that in half. We cut that in half.
Oh, okay. So you're cutting that in half. Joe, let me get your take on the backdrop here, because we're talking about policy that's also backing up things for this rally. Yeah. You know, President Trump wants to deregulate. He's going to make regulatory backdrop easier. He, is spending money on things that will lead to growth. He's talking about growth being his priority. And yet we've got 4 weeks to go for the New York City mayoral election. And Mamdani is in the lead. Okay, former governor turned independent candidate Andrew Cuomo is turning up the heat on the Democrat socialist candidate Mamdani, ripping his, quote, freebie agenda yesterday during a business discussion with all three candidates. He's calling his plans for free buses and childcare a socialist fantasy. You're in New York a lot. What do you expect to happen here?
Well, I think the reality, you know what? I think, while I'm not crazy about the idea of New York City being a socialist city within our country. Having said that, I think you got to give Mamdani some credit for the type of campaign he's been running. I mean, he's done an incredible job with the polls, and obviously a lot of people in New York like the guy. Now, I also think that when you think of the greater landscape, when you think about what's going on in our country, New York City does not represent the rest of the United States.
Yeah.
And no matter what he does in New York, that's not going to have an impact, I think, on what we're going to have, what's going to take place as far as our country goes. But right now, unless his his opponents politically wind up getting their act together, they're going to split the votes.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a pretty good shot at being elected.
No, he'll become the mayor. I just wonder what happens to New York after that, and whether or not the Democrats are going to use that to shape their messaging for the rest of the country. There's also a similar socialist in Michigan.
Yeah,
So,
but I think that's where I would disagree a little bit.
My apologies,
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah, but I think the Democrats, I think, would be aware that New York City is not exactly the rest of the United States. And if you're going to look at the national elections, I don't think a socialist a platform is going to work from a national perspective.
Yeah.
You may get away with it in New York, but I don't see you getting away with that from a national perspective.
Certainly not with President Trump at the wheel. He's already said if they don't behave in New York, he's going to cut off funding for New York. But one major thing happening in New York in the coming weeks is you are being honored as the Grand Marshal of this year's Columbus Day Parade this Monday, leading one of the largest celebrations of Italian-American heritage in the country. Everybody knows that I've been a longtime supporter of Italian-American community and its events, anchoring the parade and emceeing these galas. Congratulations.
Maria, thank you so much. And I don't know if your viewers are aware of this, but one of the things I'm honored about is that, you were Grand Marshal, I think it was 2010. So it's taken me 15 years to be able to follow in your footsteps.
Oh, my God.
So it takes a little while to be able to catch up to what you've got going on.
Well, I remember walking down at Fifth Avenue. I felt like Evita. As Grand Marshal, what does it mean to you to relive all of your upbringing and talk about your values as an Italian-American?
Well, I think there are like three pieces to this. First, our overall Italian heritage and what the Italians have brought to our country, our city, and our country. You've got a New York piece of this. I'm born and raised in New York City. I grew up in the Dyton Street part of Manhattan. I went to school at Fordham in the Bronx. I played ball in all 5 of our boroughs. New York City is my home. I only left it to go away and begin my coaching career. I came back here when I began my Wall Street career, and I've had an apartment here in Battery Park City since 1987. So New York's my home. And then the other side of that is from a personal perspective with my family. My dad was born and raised in Italy. He came over here when he was 11. He couldn't speak English. He never finished 2nd grade. And by the way, my mom was born in Ireland. Her dad could not read or write. So my family was literally a generation away from poverty and illiteracy. So you think about what this represents today for me, our city, the Italians, and my family. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. You
are living the American dream, and no wonder there's a stadium named after you, Moglia Stadium at Fordham. Joe, congrats and good to see you.
Maria, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Joe Moglia. Stay with us. We'll be right back.